guys, what's up, people, and welcome back to the Over in 80 Minutes podcast. It's me, Sam Matthews. Joining me and my guest today is a sports journalist, all-round journalist, current BBC summer editor-director, all-round good guy, Matt Hardy. Matt, welcome to the podcast. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Mate, good. Glad for having you on. You're officially the first non-rugby playing guest on the Over in 80 Minutes podcast.
Yes.
So you are keeping true to my mantra when I promised it wasn't going to be just rugby, and then I've just had rugby guests to start it off because they were all people I could call favours in for.
I could give it a go if you like.
Mate, it can't be any worse than me. I come from rural Scotland, where if you can catch, you're in the national team and you've got 50 caps at your disposal. So, mate, first things first. How was the cricket on Saturday? Cheeky second test up at Edgbaston.
It was good. The bits I can remember were good. It was quite a long night. We were in Eric Hollis stand. It's that famous, globally known stand, and I tell you what, they've got some perseverance from about 10 in the morning to 6, 7 o'clock. Continuous shouting, running, beer snakes. You know, people dressed as COVID, people dressed as doctors, and because it was one of those test events, there was 18,000 people there, so it was really, really good atmosphere. I mean, England weren't very good, but it was a really good laugh. We had a great day.
Mate, that's fine. If I was there, I wouldn't have even noticed cricket was being played. At some point, I would have gone like, hey, there's something going on in there. We should try and watch that.
Well, I think we all forgot at some point. But no, it was really, really good. And the Kiwis took the banter really well. But you know, I always sit there and wonder how players, whether they like crowds or whether they don't like crowds that are loud and you know, very bantery. But cricket offers that, especially Edgbaston. And I think it's the best ground in England, really.
Mate, I need to do a tour. I'm from Birmingham, and I was telling you before we came on, I've never had a day out of the cricket, so next time we can get down there, I'll definitely be sending you an invite.
I think I've got a few spare tickets for finals day, so maybe you can grab one of them.
Mate, I tell you what, I'll buy one off you just for something to do. I'll come down.
No, that's great. That's a great day out as well. That's Edgbaston, but it's the whole ground being absolutely balmy rather than just one stand.
Did you see him on the talk of beer snakes? Did you see it was like very much like a couple of hours ago, one of the baseball games last night in America tried to do a beer snake to combat Edgbaston, and I think it was literally like 6 people long, and they were thinking, like, as you know, American commentators, they're like, oh my god, it's the best thing since sliced bread, like the second coming of Jesus has taken place.
Well,
and it was just all these cricket fans underneath going, I think we had that racked up before they opened the gates and stuff like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we went Sunday as well. We had tickets for Sunday. That lasted an hour. But because everyone went there knowing it was only going to last an hour, we had a beer snake from the bottom of the stand to the top and halfway back down again by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I don't know how they do it.
Your Instagram, I don't like, who drinks that? You know when Boris went on about, oh, we've got to drink 40 pints each for us to recover Britain's economy. I reckon Edgbaston have just done half the work for everyone.
We gave it a really good go. The best of it is people get lured in. They think, oh, this is really good fun. Like one of the friends I went with, he goes, oh, that's fun. I'll go and put our 20 pints on there. And then everyone, you know, you walk towards the snake and everyone's going, whoa. And then when you stick it in, everyone cheers. But then what he forgot to realise is that now that he stuck it in, he's part of the snake. So for the next hour, he stood there like this.
Stood there like that, waiting for somebody to bring some fights.
Yeah. So he instantly regretted it. But when you're not part of it, it's great to watch.
I know. I'd be keeping it right to the end, and just like 5 minutes before, like already, like, yeah, game's gone. Just chuck them on. Like, I want that for 10 minutes. Yeah,
well, it was really good fun. I think when on the Sunday they showed the football there as well, and when the New Zealand team came out to say thanks to some of the fans, all the England fans started chanting, "You'll never win the Euros," that kind of thing. It was just a really good atmosphere. But I suppose you get that in cricket, and for the amount of alcohol that was drunk, I don't think there was a single incident in that stand at all. So that's what you want, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, exactly. Any sport where you can drink and everybody's your mate, not your rival. Yeah. That's the best one.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, mate. I want to get to know about what you do because I'm really excited because I know, as I mentioned to you when I asked you to come on, I know literally nothing about sports journalism. All I know is you get a tough rap on social media every time you give your opinion. So mate, how did you get into sport? How did you get into journalism and then sports journalism? Is this like a thing that stemmed from a young age, or was it like, did it come about a different way?
Well, kind of. I'm quite a sporty family. My sister ran for Wales. She chose England. Well, she ran for England and Wales. Age grade athletics, sprinter. And both of my parents were very, very good at sport when they were younger, so it's very sporty family. Growing up in Gloucester, when a sport is literally like the city religion, it's a bit like Cologne in Germany with football. They kind of like worship the sport.
Yeah.
You kind of can't get away from it. But I was never good at writing at school. I was a maths lad, and then one of my teachers was like, well, why don't you try broadcasting? Why don't you try and do film and that kind of thing? And then I found feature writing. I've always hated doing match reports if I can help it, but I found feature writing, and I found profiles and talking about things other than how well the player played at the weekend, for example. And then on the off chance, I sent the then media manager at Gloucester, Duncan Wood, who's a really good guy. He's not there anymore. An email at the age, I think, 16. And he bypassed all the regulations and got me in 3 or 4 times that season. And it kind of started from there.
Oh man, that's class. It's nice. It's nice when you hear stories like that of like people like aiding like you say, like guys that are quite high up going, we'll chuck it down. It's like you see stories like that coming around all the time. Like I saw a story on a personal account the other day. Some girl that was a few years below me. She wrote her degree, or she wrote her forgotten the word. What's it called? Dissertation. She wrote a dissertation on Gymshark, and then Ben Francis invited her down for the day and stuff like that. And it's when you see stuff like that, it was really nice to see.
Yeah, no, he was absolutely brilliant. And there was a guy with him there, Tom Burrows. He's also left, but they were also always so helpful, and they gave me every chance possible. And that basically was the thing that got me into uni. So because they saw that I was trying to do something new, and so I've kind of got a lot to thank for those two really. Also, I've got my old DT teacher's the stadium announcer there, and he does BBC Gloucestershire, so we always used to put in a nice word. So it's always nice. I hate saying that it's about who you know, but it is about who you know. I'm just lucky enough to have been one of the few that went to a state school and still got the same chances as so many others that usually get them chances at private schools or independent schools, really.
Oh no, mate, I know exactly what you mean. This podcast wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for people knowing people and calling in on 8-year-old favors. But it's exactly what it is. Like, it's the thing. It's like you'll repay the favor. Like if somebody comes to you in 6 years, say Duncan, or somebody comes to you in 6 years going, my son's doing this or this, you'll be like, absolutely, mate, I'll help you out second to none.
I'd 100% try and be, when I was the same as at uni, you had those people that would go out of their way to help you out. I hope that in 10 years, if I'm doing something anyone ever finds interesting, that I'll be the same to somebody else and so on. Because if you shut up shop after someone opened it for you, then that's just not on, is it really?
No, mate, exactly. Well, you do that already, because, for example, like you sent me, because me and you got in touch, obviously, both Blokes ambassadors. And then obviously me and you got in touch, and you sent me that through your it was almost your dissertation type.
Yeah.
It was your dissertation type article, and it was brilliant. It was a really good read. Well, I'm going to get into that. That's on my list of things to talk about later. That's a really great article. Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's about, I think, about helping people out. I mean, that project there. I mean, you had to. I know I'll leave it to have to talk about later, but I had help on that from people that I had to design that around a existing publication, and the editor literally went, "This is the font we use. This is what we do. Go ahead." So
yeah, it's stuff like that. It's like things you can't. It's like you say. It's like the more you learn, it's more people you know, but it's the things you learn from people already in the business rather than things you learn from people that have gone, here's the tried and trusted way, and you're going to sit in this classroom for 45 minutes, and by the end of it, you're going to know exactly what to do.
Yeah, for sure. I've been in a press room once or twice, and I've asked someone for a bit of help. How do you ask this without asking it this way? And they instantly go, right, just say this, cite what happened in the game, she'll give you your reasoning, this kind of thing. So people tend to be helpful. You do get the ones that aren't, but generally that's pretty minority based.
Mm-hmm. No, it's like you say, it's just a case of like everybody wants each other to succeed, as you should. How's the football going? I know it's me and you both kept in the football. We're both like,
there's a big 50-inch TV here. I can't help but look up. It's still 2-1.
Still 2-1. The sweepstakes are going strong, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I got France, so I'm not moaning at all.
Mate, honestly,
I'm so lucky.
Mate, we only had like 10 people in our sweepstakes, so everybody got like 2 shots, and I still drew Finland and Poland, and I don't think I could have got worse too. No,
I got France, and I'm happy with that. It was them or Belgium I really wanted, but yeah.
I don't trust Belgium. Right, advice to a budding journalist. You've got as we've just said, some kid comes up to you and goes, "Mate, I've seen your articles. I've seen you on the Over in 8 Minutes podcast. The millions have seen it. I want to get into sports journalism. Who do I contact? What subject do I look into? How do I get about it?"
There's literally one piece. A few people have asked me this when I was at uni and they were in lower years. It's literally, don't be afraid of no. Learn that no is a fine answer and that you're going to get it a lot, because once you learn you're going to get it a lot, it stops hurting, job applications or interview requests, or can you help me out on this? No, I'm a bit busy at the moment. Can you come back in a few weeks? It's just that persistence of getting over no being a bad thing and actually being, okay, fine, you can't help me, who can? But other than that, it's just about doing your research, find something you love, but then broaden it. So the first thing I was taught, I really wanted to be a rugby journalist. I'm not sure that's exactly what I want to do anymore. I'm more into the digital kind of long form feature side, but the first thing I was told was don't just look at rugby. So people always want to be a rugby, cricket or football journalist. But you need to know a little bit about everything. My sports teacher said I always wanted to be a horse racing journalist. I was lucky enough to be one for 3 years, but then I moved to Reuters and I haven't touched it since. He goes, I've done other stuff. Occasionally I go back and he's at the Olympics, and one day he's doing water polo and the other day he's doing judo. He's just getting your head around the basics of lots of things. So I think that's the same with any kind of journalism, really. If you want to be a movie critic, it might also be worth being a theatre critic or learning this, that and the other, because it's very difficult to walk into your dream job straight out of uni or straight out of school.
Yeah, I get you. It's like how when most teachers tell you, it's like you've got to have more than one string to your bow. Like there's no good being good at just one thing.
Yeah, and the
might not be there. Yeah.
And the other thing is finding a path that suits you. So there's a brilliant journalist at Times Radio called Matt Chorley. He helped me out whenever I needed something to do with politics, and he was at the Times then as a red box editor, I think their morning email. He'd go, yeah, come on into Westminster, I'll give you what you need. And he was always really helpful. He didn't go to uni. He started at a local paper and worked his way up that way. So it's about finding what works for you. Some people don't like the assignment. Some people prefer going straight into it. And some of the best reporters you'll see, and this is reflected in a lot of scholarships and stuff that local newspapers are offering. They'll walk into a newspaper at 16 or 18, learn on the job, get to 20 and do a qualification paid for by the paper. And they're some of the best journalists they know, because they know their patch. They know everything they need to know about where they are. And they make some of the best broadcast journalists later on.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I think that in general as well, the whole getting a job and getting a modern apprenticeship, I think that speaks volumes, because I know I say it like I'm really old. I'm only 24. You're only 21. So, yeah. but we talk about it like we're a while ago. But I remember when I was going through school, the whole of everything was you've got to go to uni, you've got to get a degree, you've got to go do whatever it is you've got to do. And I think it's for younger people who might happen to be listening to this. I really don't think that is the be all and end all. I think modern apprenticeships you can have such a, like you say, it can, if it's something you want to do, or even if it's just I don't want to spend another 4 years not making money, the advert for a modern apprenticeship is huge.
I had a really good head of sixth form when I was at secondary school, and she kind of forced everyone into doing what they wanted to do rather than what they were told to do. She'd ring up parents and go, look, I know you want him to go to uni, but this way he could earn this much money and be doing this by the time he's left uni, etc. And she invited me back a while ago to chat to some students. She's no longer head of sixth form there, but she's a media teacher. And the first thing I said was, don't go to uni because someone else tells you to. For a lot of people, being persuaded into going to uni is the best thing that ever happens to them. But also, what's the point in going if you drop out after 6 months because you've always known you're going to hate it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think so. Yeah, I was quite unfortunate. So where our schools are always in a fiercely competitive race, the ranking race.
Yeah.
And you'll know yourself how they're so biased towards how many kids go to uni equal how good the school is. And it's not the case. So I don't blame the teachers for encouraging kids to go to uni. I completely get that they're based on merit and statistics, but I think it's like you said, it's a case of just doing your own knowledge and just going, if I'm going to hate this and I know I'm going to hate this, there's no point going here for 6 months to spend the money and then go, oh, well, I'm going.
Yeah, especially when there are schools I've got some friends that went to the likes of Fetties up in Scotland who, they're paying for their tuition, and then there's even more pressure on the school to do stuff there, So I'm happy to have gone to a state school, been given the option to do what I do, and found some a niche that I really like, really.
You want to know something funny? Do you know, like, this is how like public school I was. Like, I didn't know Fetties was a school until I was 19 because I never came into contact with it. I never knew it was even a thing.
I didn't know either. There's a few others I can't think of now. That a few people that I went to uni with went to, and it's just a different world. We used to look up our schools on Google Maps, and I used to look at Fetties and think, when I went to uni,
if you ever want to see the best school you'll ever see, when you get off this, Shawnigan Lake School in Canada, it's on Victoria Island, right? We had them as we got to go there for our summer rugby tour, and then we had them as billets, like, so they came and we hosted them.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm staying at home, mum and dad while I stay from one house, but like we live in quite a nice house, and we went there, and their canteen is basically just a hollowed out house, like a hollowed out 10-bedroom house. And I was like, there's just levels to this. Oh, the rugby pitch, like, I'm completely off topic, but the rugby pitch is the most beautiful, like, High School Musical, Walt Disney thing you've ever seen. Like, beautiful 1 millimeter grass with a big clubhouse that comes out on a rail, and this beautiful pristine pitch. And you've got these under 16-year-olds that can't chuck 3 passes together running around on it.
That's amazing. But it's a different world, isn't it? I mean, you look at my school on Google, it really wasn't. It still isn't anything special. But I'm happy I've gone there. I've made lifelong friends from that school. So
yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. You look at the private schools, you hear the stories, and you think, it's not for me.
No. Well, some of the state school teachers change you, don't they? They're the ones that inspire you so much because they kind of have to be invested in the kids.
Yeah, especially the ones where it's like, it's not a case of, I really benefited from that old style of teaching, or the teaching you hear about, where it's like, if you're misbehaving, he just pulls it aside and just goes, stop being a dick. Like, you benefit so much more from that than, here's your 20 lines and let's sit down and discuss why you feel the way you are, and just your teacher goes, you're just being a dick. And
my A-level teacher, she used to take banter really well, and she used to give it out as well. And her philosophy was kind of, I'm going to set you 3 essays a week. I don't expect you to do 3 a week. I'm just pick and choose the ones you want. Because, but every single one you do, I'll mark. And she found a correlation that the people that did the most or asked her for help the most got the best grade. So she was a very hands-off teacher, because at sixth form she wanted to put the responsibility on you being an adult. And I think those kind of lessons set you up really well.
No, you remember these teachers as well. Like you said, you'll never forget your head of sixth form. And like, we have I remember my graphic design teacher. I remember even better my craft and design teacher, because what they used to call in the department was, they used to call, so you had your 4 technical subjects. You had like product design, graph comm, engineering, and craft and design. And
we also had cooking.
We had home economics. So we called that, like, home economics is cooking. But we had that, and our teacher used to walk around, and he always used to shout down the corridor. He was like, they always used to call it as the in-joke of craft and daft, because it was like the daft is craft and design. So you'd have the teacher, I've probably just cost some guy's job, but the 4th year teacher used to walk down going, right, craft and daft line up against the wall, and then all the kids like smiling and grinning would line up against the wall, and I was like,
But as I say, my DT teachers worked at BBC Gloucestershire, and he does the stadium announcing at Kingsholm now. So, sadly the recent ones died now, but I used to see him in the press room, and he used to tell everyone how much of a shit I was at school. But it's a nice little thing, He always says hello, and he goes, "Oh, I remember you were making clocks was never your thing," like, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's those people change you, don't they?
My PE teacher was the same. Like, God, he was so funny, and he used to say, because I used to ask him for references a lot for stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced he's the only reason I've got anywhere, because he just writes this, and he goes, every time I write him a reference, he goes, if you really don't want the job, get me to write you a reference, and then I'll be like, thank you.
Yeah, I had one of my references for uni was from that teacher, and they thought, she sounds completely crazy, but everything she said is amazing. She put Caesar quotes in and all this stuff, and crazy, absolute crazy woman.
My teacher just used to laugh. He goes, I reckon I could throw you out of a plane and you'd still land on a trampoline or something like that. I was that kind of lucky.
I saw that bloke the other day that jumped out of a plane without a parachute. Did you see that?
No,
something like 6,000 meters, and he landed in a trampoline, like a big net. I thought, no chance.
No, thank you.
No,
that sounds like something you'd watch on like extreme sports TV when you were like 14.
Yes,
remember like Travis Pastrana and people like that. Yeah,
not for me. Never.
Right, mate, talk to me about Department of Journalism at City Uni London. What's this all about? I want to know about this.
Well, it's quite funny, really, because as we went, it still is, I suppose. It's always been known as the Oxbridge of journalism. So it's always been known as the place to go. But you go there and it's nowhere near the top of the rankings, and you're not entirely sure why. It's probably just on its name. Which I had a great course, great teachers, very obviously politically aligned teachers, which was fun because you knew what not to write with them, but they probably shouldn't express their views so much. No, it was a really good department overall. They taught us bits and bobs. They taught you, how to be a journalist, not just what one was. And it was very hands off. So it was very much like, okay, well, it's 3 days a week. Obviously, they all just mince the money out of you. But you had 2 full days of being a journalist, which was how they spun, making it sound like a full-time course.
That's how they spun 4-day weekends.
Yeah. And then we used to have a news day every Friday of the last term where you're in at 9. You have to put a program together, whether it's a 3-hour radio program or an hour-long television program. You've got to get news. You've got to get interviews on the day. You can't prep. So it's that kind of thing, which, as I think many journalists would know, is not how actual journalism is. But I suppose if they throw you in at the deep end, I suppose that's the best way. But the reason I went there over the likes of Cardiff was purely because of where it was, and the access to other things I had there. So I was always in Westminster, always at London Assembly, always at Twickenham, trying to find little bits to do, trying to find people to meet, always out having work drinks and stuff like that. So it's all about, I went there and I left with a book. I mean, I left with a book maybe that thick of contacts of just, numbers of people who work at all these places, people that work for MPs, people that work for certain ministries, like defence and all of this stuff. And I suppose that's great. And I don't want to go into political journalism. I feel like it's a little bit sleazy.
Mate, it's such a nice, easy time. Everybody will be so on board with your opinion, regardless of what you say.
It's not the opinion. It's just I just so many weird experience. Like, you hear all these bullying allegations, you hear all these things going on in Parliament, and I'm not saying you see it all the time, but you can see a lot of where it stems from.
Yeah.
There used to be certain pubs, I think there still are. There used to be certain pubs that you'd go to find certain types of people, whether they were bloggers or journalists or Tories or Labour, Liberals, the students, all the think tanks used to be in one pub. And then there was, a big piano bar, which was always great fun. I think a few times I saw Kelly Brown there singing Sweet Caroline, and some really bizarre piano bar at 3 a.m. I'll send you that video. But
the stories Kelly Brown, like you hear Kelly Brown's name appear in such weird circles. Like I think I met the guy when I was like 14. He wouldn't remember me to this day. But we've got
me neither.
Mate, producer Sean, he's best friends with Happiness is Egg-shaped Bruce, and they get on like a house on fire, Bruce and Kelly. So
yeah,
I'm sure Sean will be going, you've got to ask Kelly about this next time you have him on your podcast.
For sure, but that's why I went there. It was the who you can meet. I was always at Twickenham. Some people were very kind to me and helped me get a press pass, helped me do this, that, and the other. So I that's why I went there, and to this day I'm thankful to all of those people, even the ones that I don't talk to much anymore. There's always good people out there who, if I think if I really, really needed some help, they'd probably help me out. They might not, but they might.
everybody would help out. Like,
yeah,
I only don't help out if I can. That's the way I look at it. And even then, you still try to put them in touch with somebody you can.
Yeah, but that's the other thing you've got to learn is there will be, you will fall out with people. It's like real life. Journalism's like a life within a life. You are going to fall out with people. Some people are really not going to like you. Some people will really like you, and the best kind of people are the ones that let it go. But then also you've got to respect that people feel away and move on. That's not to say I've annoyed everyone in the world, but we all annoy.
This podcast will never see the light of day because you'll say something in the next 2 weeks.
No. We all annoy people, don't we? And people annoy you, and it's the way of life. But I'm sure. If you get on with everybody, you're doing something wrong. That's the way I was always looked at it. Exactly. I remember being in a press room when I will not. I've got to be careful not to name names now.
I'll bleep them if you do. Don't
no,
worry.
It's all right.
And
it was quite funny because there was a press conference and a journalist didn't ask a question because he didn't need to. He wasn't doing a piece the straight after. He didn't need quotes. And a head coach didn't like something he wrote in the week, and afterwards, after the break, came up to him and kind of like had a little go at him for writing what he wrote. And you know, you get that, and you kind of got to move on. I presume they either talk or they don't. Probably, you know, I'm not sure, but you know, you get that, and I think if you don't, as you said, if you don't get that, you know, you can't be, you know, digging up something that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah, exactly. Like every controversial topic has somebody that won't like it.
Yeah, for sure. And even non-controversial topics, someone will find something wrong with it. I mean, we see that a lot now. People disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing with you.
Oh yeah, mate. I for work, we did a Lions and early prediction team. You see, I left out Josh Adams, and I think every Welshman I've ever known had thought that I just like spat on the flag. Like,
was it first 15?
Yeah, first 15.
Oh, see, I left out. I had Josh Adams in my first 15, but I kept out Lewis Zammit, which annoyed a lot of people, including all the lads that I do rugby inside line with. You know, everyone's going, what are you? And I'm a Gloucester fan as well, and I left him out. But you know, that's what I mean. Everyone's got an opinion. I admit now that I don't think he will be left out, but I don't know if I'd still start him. But you know, that's me.
I think he's there as like, you're going to be playing in the next one, so we just want you to have the experience.
Yeah, I actually think he'll start a test. I mean,
I can see him starting the third one if, God forbid, we're 2-0 down.
Yeah, maybe, potentially. Who's the ref? Yeah, we've got French ref for that one, so that probably he's a bit level-headed, isn't he? But we'll see. He might start and he might get a hat-trick. You know, we saw that with young Habana back in the day. You know, he was absolutely incredible from a very young age. Johnny May's the same. You know, we see that with young wingers these days. But he wouldn't have been in my 15. My other one was Van der Merwe.
Good. You took
so I did
that. Yeah. I did that just for Scottish banter. I was like, I'll just throw I'll throw a cat amongst the pigeons.
Well, the first name on my list is Chris Harris. He's the first name I put on my list.
That's just Gloucester, though.
I think he's the best defensive 13 in Britain at the moment and Ireland.
I don't think he could have picked a better time as well, because there was so much doubt. I don't know how much you see from it, but up here there was a real doubt in him, the consistency of Scottish centres. Yeah, and it was a real of, we have so many that are on the precipice of good international players, but there was nobody that stuck their hand up. And you're still not picking
Hutchinson.
He's in the Scotland squad as of today. He got brought in.
But that's the thing. He was the first. Not because I'm a Gloucester fan. He's the best defensive 13 in Britain and Ireland. And I think if it was a tour to New Zealand or Australia, I don't think he'd start as my 13. But South Africa against Diolande and Am is their other centre. You need someone like him.
Yeah. Especially after 60 minutes when they bring on like Jesse Van Rensburg as well. Just another
exactly 100%. So I'm quite good at being. In fact, if you ask loads of my friends, I'm weirdly not anti Gloucester, but I'm very critical of them.
Everybody's the same. It's like watching. I was watching Scotland today. And I don't think I spent the time not calling one of the players bad. And I was like, I support this team, and all I've done is insult them.
But I seem to be quite critical of it. I don't know why. Probably because I care so much. You know, it goes as far as my dad telling me I can't be classed as a fan anymore. But I think it's because I care so much.
No, absolutely. If it's one of those ones. If you don't win, if you win 2-0, you're like, we should have won 3. We should have been 4.
Yeah. Well, I think it stemmed. I think I've got some post-traumatic stress disorder, because when I went to like 2000, I can't remember, 3 or 4, when Gloucester topped the table by 20 odd points, and it was the first year of playoffs, and we lost. We lost at Twickenham, and I cried all the way home. And I don't think I've ever been happy since. You know, I don't think I've
ever. Gloucester took my sporting life from me when I was 7.
Sporting life, just life. It's gone.
That was it.
But and then that's the thing, and me and my
that's all the journalism is. It's just you penning down pain, just in the written word.
Yeah, the first article I ever wrote was about Gloucester being a club stuck in purgatory, and I actually, funnily enough, someone dug it up and went, "Is this you?" and full of spelling errors and all this stuff. And I reread it, and if you change the name of the coaches from the former ones to the ones who have just left, that article could be published today. I mean, it wouldn't get. It's a rubbish article, but it will get published today as fact. Nothing has changed since I wrote that. And that's the first thing I ever wrote, you know, in my back garden as a little lad or whatever. But it's
Why
been,
I hate Gloucester.
no,
dear Mr. New York Times, can you publish this?
What was it called? It was called I think Gloucester Rugby, a club in purgatory ? And that's what it was. And then I actually wrote one like the week after about the rise of Georgian rugby. This was before the World Cup as well. And now look at them. So
Matt, I think if journalism doesn't work, you should just become like a rugby scout and just go, I can predict where the teams are going to be in the next 10 years.
I'd love to be a rugby scout. I'd be rubbish at it, but I'd love to be a rugby scout. But yeah, you know, it's a lifelong pain. And me and my dad do an away trip every year if we can. I'd always make sure I have a free weekend. I think, when was it? 2 years ago, when the last full season without COVID, we did Gaul, we did Connaught, we did Montpellier and Toulouse all in 1 year. So we try and make time for them. We always ask my mum and sister if they want to come, and they always say no. But we've done La Rochelle, we've done Bayonne, we've done Zebra. 3 times. Zebra. We only go if Gloucester are playing. We won't go just for the sake of being a neutral. So we've done Munster a few times. So we really enjoy doing that. And
would you not do neutral sport? Say your dad and the boys were like, we've got 6 tickets to, I don't know, Stuttgart versus Bayern. Not Bayern, because everybody goes to something like that. But like Stuttgart versus FC Cologne. Just where we'll go for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but when it's me and my dad, we try and do a Gloucester trip. So this year we got our pools, and we thought COVID would ruin it anyway. But you know, we penned in Lyon and thought that'll be a great away trip. My dad did a rugby tour there back in the 80s or 90s. So you know, we thought, that would be a great trip to visit, and obviously it hasn't happened. But we do love doing them, and we always make time for them. I think that still shows like somehow in me somewhere there is Gloucester blood somewhere.
Mate, you're better than me. I love, so me and my, like, I think there's so much to be said for like trips with your old man, or if you're like with your mum, something like that. But like a trip, like a family-based trip, can solve anything, because I'm a massive motorsport fan. So like I love my rugby, but motorsport was always the first sport I ever loved. Like it was I used to learn languages and accents by reading the names, like Mika Hakkinen in a Finnish accent. Was how I got. But yeah, so me and my old man go to the Le Mans 24 Hours every year.
Yeah. I think we spoke about this, but I've done motorsport too. I've been to Spa and Monza. We've done Silverstone. Actually, Silverstone was really good fun because it was before COVID. It was that last year before COVID. We went to Silverstone. It was a really good race. The crowd there's crazy. We jumped in the car and rushed home, and on halfway home we had the tennis on. I think it was that amazing day when Djokovic went to 5 sets. I think it was with Nadal. And then, you know, when we saw also he's won the 4th set, we thought, he'll win. We switched to the England cricket final against New Zealand.
Oh, the super over.
Yeah, had to, we slowed right down for the super over and all this stuff, and got home just as we won and ran in to watch the trophy. It was one of those days that you're like, it was just sports mad.
Mate, I can tell you the best story about that exact day. So that exact day, I was on I've got, like, not to brag, I've got a girlfriend. Yeah, big shock, but yeah, I know. Yeah, not one to brag, but yeah. This was my first ever holiday with her family away to like Greece, and they always go with their family, and they have their friends that they sort of interlap holidays.
Yeah,
like they intertwine. So we all went out for this big dinner, and like you say. Producer Sean's just put a comment saying punching as well, isn't it? Thanks, Sean. But yeah, so we were at this massive table. There was like 12 of us at this table. I'm getting introduced. I was
just gonna say Sean can't talk.
Everybody knows Sean's punching. Like the kids don't look like him, mate. The biggest blessing they'll ever receive is that his kids don't look like him. I can only say this because he's not got his camera on. But yeah, so we were at this table of 12, and like you said, all this sport was just going off, and I just had this Wi-Fi, so my phone was just on the table, and it was just ping, 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 and it was like, my mates were like, we're in a super over, we don't even know what a super over is, but we're excited, and we're watching it. So I had this little thing on, and there was a bar 2 doors down from the Greek restaurant we were in, and that had the tennis on. And then, like you said, I think the race had been on a bar 2 doors down that way. So all you had was this cool group of this group of English men just walking up and down these 3 pubs as everything took a break.
Yeah.
And then I was sat there, and these people were like trying to ask me questions like, so Sam, what do you do? And I'm just watching my tiny little phone screen like, I can't believe what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I don't even know if we win or not, but I'm just happy to be here. And
it's amazing, honestly, isn't it? You know, small things like, you know, family holiday, 2012, the Olympics was on, you know, so we'd sit there and, you know, like, and all the big races run in the evening, and we used to like crowd round in a restaurant, watch Mo Farah win gold, and we're all going, oh, all this stuff. And, you know, I think sport brings a lot of people together, doesn't it? Which is great. But we're into athletics because of my sister. We were at the World Championship finals when Gatlin beat Bolt in that 100 meters, and everyone started booing him and all of this, and it was really quite toxic. But, you know, those kind of moments I'll never forget, and I think they're better because you do it with your family.
Oh, I couldn't agree. Like, there's so much to be said for, like you said, like you see, like pints for your old man of the rugby is nothing better.
Oh yeah, we did.
Like days out with the boys are great, but like days out with your old man.
Well, when Gloucester got to the Challenge Cup final against Stade Francais up in Edinburgh, we went up. We thought we're never going to win this, you know. We didn't. In fact, they pulled a similar trick to Bristol the other week with the props. With I think it was Slimani was there then, so they pulled that trick, and you know, it wouldn't have changed the result, but it didn't help it out. But, you know, in the corridor, Sergio Parise, you know, he looked at me and my dad as if we were like scum, we were like mere mortals, and we're like looking up at him. My dad's quite tall, looking up at him, and he's just like get out my way type thing. But those kind of moments, me and my dad laugh about when we see family and all that kind of thing, because you never forget those just tiny little moments. You know, we were meant to go on the Lions tour this year. That would have been a
so was I.
moment.
I was meant to be there as well.
I think so many people I know were meant to be going there, so we all could have just met up. And
I know it was just been a small collective of everybody we knew.
It was like at the cricket Saturday. I one of the lads who does Rugby Inside Line, and I mainly do the Instagram. I don't often tweet, but one of the lads who's part of that, he goes, "Are you here?" And I went, "Yeah, where are you?" And I like turned to my right, and he's like stumbling up some stairs, and I'm like, "Oh, hello, mate." I haven't met him in a long time. I was like, I went to say hello, and we're both, "Hello, how are you?" Really slurring our words, but it's just those nice little moments.
Text him the next day. Did I see you yesterday?
Well, I tweeted and go, "Just like to let you all know he's very drunk," and he replied, "Going, you haven't seen Matt." Oh, it wasn't that bad, to be fair, but on the way home, one of my friends was sick in the car, and it was projectile, so it went on me. I was in the back with him. It went on the driver. It went on it wasn't nice at all. In fact, he hasn't texted me since, so I think he's still in bed.
I'd have just thrown my phone in the nearest river and just pretended.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's funny. After that test match, I moved the next day, really sudden.
Yeah, but you know, those moments are brilliant, aren't they? And
I was saying this. I was discussing this with the podcast will be out when this comes out. I was discussing it with Tom Lindsay, you know, Bristol women's coach.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was on here before. That was another favour I called in to get him on. But yeah, we were discussing it. We were saying the thing that people care the least most about sport is the result. Like the memories of sport are the best part by far.
100%, and those that I think that's the worst thing about doing any form of sports journalism. Yes, you're there. Yes, you're witnessing history. Yes, it's amazing, but you're not witnessing it as a fan. So, you know, sometimes I purposely don't apply for accreditation for certain things so I can go as a fan. And I'm fine with that. Some journalists would never do that because their job is their life, or they're contracted to a site or a newspaper or a broadcaster. They have to, you know, by job. I'm lucky enough to get by freelancing at the moment for various digital media people. Always looking for that ideal full-time job, but I'm not. It's not overly hitting me at the moment, so I'm lucky enough to go to the cricket as a fan. I think we've penciled in like a pub to go and watch the Lions game, you know, that kind of thing, and I'm happy to do that.
Do you know what you should do? You should go to these events as a fan and then publish your own articles, but write them as you're either coming down from the drunkenness, or just write it as you're just like almost live broadcast it, and just go. Well, and then just keep a tally of what drinks you've had as you go. So it's like pint 16. I think England are still batting. I'm not quite sure.
I think that would be a really good way of making a sport that's maybe not fully embraced a really good way of explaining sport. Can you imagine if you did that at a rugby game? But you know, like I went to the Australia-New Zealand World Cup final at Twickenham. I wasn't old enough to drink. I got served. Happy days. but you know, one of those there would have been really good. You know, it was the final World Cup for Dan Carter. He made the 1,500 international points mark. You know, all of them, and you know, I think that kind of article could actually be quite good, but no one would ever publish it unless you self-publish that.
The thing is, yeah, it's like you say that nobody would ever self-publish it. Everybody would read it. Like you know, you can read it. Yeah.
But one of my lecturers was at Talksport when I was at uni. My radio teacher, and we talk about the Lions tour. She was saying we're going for the rights, and all this stuff. And she said, but they won't send many digital. And I said, well, I'm going. And she was like, well, I can ask if they're going to need someone out there to do like fan footage. That's something sport needs more of. Fan footage. I mean,
look at the success of like Arsenal TV and stuff like that. Like it's like
I trowel through, you know, YouTube every few years, or you know, looking for really good Barmy Army cricket songs when they're down under, or the Lions, but not filmed by the Lions, but filmed in the stand, because that really gives a great atmosphere. The quality is never good, but you don't want it to be brilliant.
Yeah, but you want that where it's like held landscape, so you can never view it perfectly. So you move your phone, it moves back.
So one of the things I loved, I mean, I talk to a few media people, and we talk about certain, especially rugby clubs, what we touch on other clubs is media coverage. If you get the chance, Somerset Cricket do some outstanding digital stuff. Really? In terms of rugby, Bristol and Sale do good stuff. Yeah, Somerset's is incredible. You know, they kind of do a behind the scenes for every match, so you kind of feel you're with the team all the time. But they do some great stuff. There's something I've always wanted to be seen at Gloucester, which I know it's a bit expensive, but do you know one of those kind of 360 cams or those 180 cams?
One of them in the tunnel and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of them lit properly with a proper microphone in the shed.
That'd be class.
So just because people always go, "What's it like in there?" And if you ask any Gloucester fan, they'll go, "We'll say it's brilliant, but you don't know until you've been there. You don't know what it's like in there, because it's a world famous stand, I suppose, in terms of rugby. It's a bit like Munster as a ground. I think one of them in there, properly well microphoned, would be some absolutely amazing content.
I couldn't agree more. Like the behind the scenes, and like you said, just the involved, like everybody in sport wants to feel like they are in the room with everything they see. It's one of the reasons I started this. Like, I want to hear what it's like from the people and the people involved in sport.
It's also one of the things I think is most difficult about being a sports club now is with this digital age, this media, anyone can do a podcast, anyone can do this, that, and the other. But the one thing that fans are doing is they're constantly demanding more and more and more. And they don't expect you to like lower the quality of what they're already doing. So, you know, there are some companies that charge an extortionate amount of money to just do a club's graphics for a year. I'd get a uni student to do that for half the price, and then, you know, spend the rest on a good camera, or spend the rest on a project that, you know, if it doesn't do great, you know, fine. But I think some clubs have got to start taking risks, because we're seeing what the American clubs are doing in terms of access. They're asking their players to go on Instagram at training and all this kind of thing, show us what they're doing.
Do you watch the MLR?
I promised I would. I was a committed LA fan on the basis that I think that's where the game's going to grow the quickest. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were. I watched the first 2 rounds and then decided that 2 a.m. was too late.
Oh, man,
so I kind of copped out.
You've got to get on mine and producer Sean's timetable. We're massive. I'm just converted to American sport. I'm a huge American football fan, so Sunday nights at 3 a.m. and then going to work at 8 a.m. are not uncommon for me.
Yeah, I mean, I try my best. If I'm up late, it's probably cricket, but I try, but sometimes I overdo rugby. I overwatch a sport, and I actually get bored of watching it, which is crazy. I know some people can watch it for hours and hours, but the worst time in my life is an international weekend, because I hate watching 4 or 5 games in a weekend. I'd rather watch 2 or 3 and then sit in a pub and have it on casually. I mean, European weekends during COVID have been lovely, but they've also been horrible, because you've got 3 games on a Friday, then there's rugby from 12 o'clock till 8 o'clock on the Saturday, then 3 o'clock till 8 o'clock on the Sunday, and I'll sit there and watch it all, and then by the end of it, I'm bored of rugby.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, it's when you say it's like you've got nothing to do in a COVID weekend, but you get to the final game and you think, I just don't want to watch any more rugby.
Yeah, I'm getting really, and then you look at the channel and it's, I don't know, Munster Toulouse, and you go, oh, I'd have watched that one.
I know. If you told me that, I would have missed Agen versus London Irish.
Exactly. I mean, I and then I really wanted to watch the Biarritz game against Bayonne. I'm hugely into the Pro D2, as they call it over there. I'm a massive fan of it.
Hold on. You pronounced that perfectly, and you called zebra.
What can I say? I was doing a clubhouse one Friday, and this woman was in there. She was very knowledgeable about the Pro D2. And she started calling the top 14, the top 14. And I started going, what's that? And I started writing it in my sheet going, top 14. But just people talk to me about that league so much. And I'm a huge advocate for that league based on the amount of clubs that are in there that were in the top 14. Biarritz got promoted. Yeah. They're former champions of the French league. I love it. I love the way they do it as well. Thursday nights.
The huge fan of the French model, just rugby model. Like, I think there's so much other clubs, because I come, like, my team's in a ring fence league and it's got 4 countries in it and it's still ring fenced.
Who is your team?
I say it's my team. It's Edinburgh just because it's closest team. Like, okay. It was the Border Reavers, but then they folded. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
That's when you've gone to watch a shit rugby match when you were sat there in Gala Shields on a Friday night, torrential rain, and it's like -10, and you're watching.
I saw a 0-0 once while I was at uni, and it was London Welsh as well. I was watching it. I thought, I can't. Why am I here? It was raining. Why am I here?
Have you ever? I remember I watched this. I think this was on A League of Their Own 10 years ago. Have you ever been at a game as a journalist and just thought, I might just go home? Like, there's nothing here to write about. I might just go home.
I don't know. I think I probably have. Sometimes you'll see me there like this.
Camera cuts and this one guy's just banging his head off the laptop.
and sometimes I've sat there and I start, because I'm no longer fit enough, but I used to have refereeing qualification. Mm-hmm. So I used to sit there from the touchline and just sit like this, and then go, like, when a penalty was given, I used to just go like to which way it was going, and then the ref would blow up and I'm like, yeah, got that one right.
Thank God. Yeah.
But then sometimes you go to a game and you don't want it to be too hectic. That's the last thing you want. As a journalist, it's great as a neutral. And the last thing you want, especially, is something to happen in the last 5 minutes that changes the game.
After you've just written the whole report.
Yeah, because a lot of them, especially these Friday night games or Friday night international games, there have been journalists who I'm lucky enough to not write for nationals. I suppose that's unlucky, but they will have a deadline, and the deadline is 10 minutes after full time, just because the game's taken 2 hours or there's been a delay, and then something happens right at the end and you can see them all go
delete.
Yeah. So some of them write 2 introductions before the game and then pick the nicest one and edit it. But it's not something. I love it. If I got given a national job doing any sport, I'd love it, and I'd invest so much time into being good at it. But while I don't have that job, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, the honor of just doing it would be, obviously I know nothing about journalism, but the honor of just being involved at that sort of scale would be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and I was at the England-France Women's Six Nations final, and I was doing nothing but a few Instagram posts. I was there doing digital media, so I really enjoyed myself. It was a really close game. It was a good, really, really good game of rugby. I had a journalist next to me who was doing a live commentary, but she'd go, "Oh, who did that?" I've been typing it on. You give her the name, and you have a really good chat. Probably shouldn't do it because of COVID, but I usually take a packet of Haribo's or something and share them out. That always gets everyone on your side.
There's always got to be one with the squishies or the jelly babies. That's
That's the way we keep people going. But those kind of games are brilliant when you don't have to do loads, and if but then the small bits you do can be really high quality because you've got time to do them, I suppose.
It's a nice thing just to be involved with.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, mate. What's your favorite bit of sport to write about? You said you're not really that much fan of doing match profiles. What's your, are you like an interviews kind of guy? Are you like I've been granted exclusive interview with this guy, and then I've asked him about Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I forgot to talk to him about the game at the weekend type thing. Right?
I love doing a feature. I love having like a spine and then finding out different opinions on something and writing really flouncy introductions and that kind of thing. I like match reports. They're very good, but I think my issue with them is that these days, you know, highlights are available 10 minutes after a game. I just don't think many people read them anymore. You know, it's a bit like teletext. Remember that we used to go on there and look for the score. You know, when my dad was at the rugby, he used to record it for me. You know, I watch it in the evening when I get home, but I look on teletext for the score when I was like 6 or 7. And I like that way. But then I grew up and realized, now I can look at it on my phone. And then now that I can get highlights on my phone, I very rarely read a match report ever. Now, in fact, I don't think I've read one maybe for a year.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like you said, well, half the time the tries, even if they're not full highlights, they get posted minutes after they've been scored.
And sometimes I find a tweet will sum up a game as well as a match report does. So I find watching the highlights and then you know, so that Bristol Leicester thing that was really controversial. I thought, you know, a few really good journalists, Paul Williams, who usually does top 14.
I think Paul's brilliant.
Him. I think Will Kellier, who does the Mail, and a few others, sum that up in 280 characters each. That in as good a way, or maybe better than the match report did, because you know they link to a video or it links this instantly, and I think that's the way we're going. I love writing features because you get to find out a little bit more context, and then you learn so much more about a person, and you're more likely to get on with them unless you're asked. I mean, that's not to say I'm any good at writing them, but I enjoy writing them.
I think your features are all right. If there's any consolation, I like the features I've read.
Thanks.
Right, mate, I'm going to talk about mental health because you come from, as I've said a few times already, like the problem with journalism and anything when you chuck something on Twitter or into a paper, into an article, is eventually you get someone that doesn't like it, and their normal course of action is to tell you how much you should never have been born on Twitter. So, like, how does this, like, what do you think the way? Because obviously, like we've been discussing, and it's quite good how we've actually managed to stumble into this. We're discussing about how digital marketing is fast becoming the norm, and like you say, match reports are slowly filing the way out. Like, how do you think this is going to go with socials and then linking it to your mental health? Like, how is the mental, like, I assume you have to be quite thick-skinned to be a journalist and then be on social media as well, as what I'm getting at here.
I hate it when someone says something horrible to me online. I take everything. I don't take it personally, but I feel, oh, okay. You know, and sometimes that's not nice. I mean, I had a few really weird like death threats, and I think I had like a rape threat or something by some anonymous account once when I suggested you're
21 years old, you shouldn't have to be going through stuff like that.
Those kind of things you just go, you know, well, you're probably anonymous for a reason or whatever. But that was over me saying Will Griff-John should play for Wales and start for Wales. That's not to say he's the best prop in Wales, but I thought he deserved a cap. And you get some really weird stuff, but those kind of things don't affect me as much as they affect some people, because I just don't believe people would do that. I think that's when we saw all of this stuff with Sarah Everard and stuff. I think when this happens to especially young women, but women in general, I think it's a lot scarier, because I think, I'm not saying it never happens to men, but I think the higher chance of the threats that they say, the things that they actually say, there's a higher chance of some of those things actually happening to women on the street or happening at all. So I think that's the major issue. It's there is a line between what criticism is and what opinion is. I just think far too many people don't know what that line is, or just don't know what's actually acceptable to say out loud. And people remember your tweets are there forever. You can delete it, but it's there.
It takes just one person to screenshot it.
You see it with politicians. They say something very stupid, whether they meant it in the way they said it or not, but it's screenshotted and without the context or this screenshot. You know, so I think there are a lot. I think this is on social media companies to actually have you know a verification process, where I don't think you should have to show ID or a particular email to or etc. But I think there should be something in place there where it's a lot easier to block you and to permanently kick you off the platform. A little bit like when football clubs actually are able to identify players who are fans who are racist, and they give them life bans from all football matches. I think there is something we can do there that's a bit similar to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I'm along the same lines of you. I don't think it's I don't know whether putting your physical ID into Twitter is the best outcome, but there should be some sort of, you can't be, I can't remember. There was one quite famous. I don't want to put somebody's name to it because it's not the player's fault that they chose their name to beside. It's like, you can't be Chelsea player. Insert Chelsea player name here. 36,942 with a photo of an egg, and then just sit there and just go,
exactly.
I hate every person from this minority because I decided this when I woke up this morning and stuff like that.
And the thing I think a lot of people forget here in the UK, in America as well, is that if you made it very easy to identify people online they had to have an ID thing, you wouldn't get whistleblowers in China talking about genocide. You wouldn't get people in Hong Kong talking about what's going on and whistleblowing on atrocities around the world, because they'd be easily able to track. Because if Twitter can look at who you are, then obviously
the government probably can get it.
Exactly. So I think that's where we've got to be careful. It's fine here in England and it's fine in the UK but even here we have whistleblowers who need to say something for public interest. And I think if you put ID on everything, you're putting that in danger. But yeah, I think there's a way where, like football can identify people and kick them out for life. I think that's the way forward online.
Yeah, if a football club can find a person and then the next he can't go to a football game in the UK, Twitter can definitely find somebody and go.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you can ban the president of the United States, who is the leader of the free world, you can get rid of some lad from the local council estate that's just abusing people.
Yeah, well, we all have an IP address, don't we? That's the thing. And but yeah,
we get today's sponsor. No, I'm joking. We don't have a sponsor. They just sponsor everything, so I'm just assuming it's up.
But I think that's the thing, and a lot of people will say don't read the comments, and I back that. I mean, I read all the comments on everything on stuff I tweet, whether it's from my account or other accounts.
I read comments on tweets that aren't mine. Like, you see, as soon as there's like those jokes about like old Facebook comments, and it's like you see something that's got like 200 comments. Yeah, and it's like you're there at 3 a.m. reading it. Yeah,
and some you get some really good get great comments. This is something, if you haven't done it, have you ever typed into Google Florida man and then your birthday?
Yes, I have done it.
So mine is something to do with a bloke getting his bits cut off by something or other, by an angry girlfriend or something. But then you read the comments of them, people are angry that we're outing this man as a victim, or we're outing this woman as a murderer, or all this kind of, we don't know the story. But I sit there and read all them comments, and I'm not saying I enjoy them, but I sit there and you get obsessed with comments, don't you?
Mate, they're like it's like going into a TikTok hole. Like you'll be there for 4 hours before you notice you've been there.
I'm glad to say I'm very, very, very new on TikTok, and I haven't quite found that hole yet.
Mate, you'll just find yourself. It will be like the algorithm caters to you so fast. Like mine is awful Family Guy jokes. It's like the proper dark, and it's just I'll just scroll on that, and then like I have to listen to it with headphones in, because everybody was like, if you listen to this out loud, he's a sociopath. But
but TikTok's quite dark as well, isn't it? There's a very dark side to TikTok.
There's some of the stuff that's on there is weird. Like talking about stuff that shouldn't be on the internet. Like I reckon 90% of TikTok should not have seen the light of day.
Yeah, it's odd. But you get some of those. I know you're new. I added you the other day to Clubhouse. You sometimes enter a chat there and you sit there and listen and think, no, not for me. You just hear these brass opinions about things, and you think, why are people entertaining that opinion? But then again, it's free speech. You can say what you like as long as you're not.
Yeah, it's that classic argument of free speech versus stop giving idiots a microphone.
Yeah. There's a line between free speech and hate speech, I think. And again, like I said about the comments and saying things, especially to journalists, a lot of people don't know that line. There was I don't want to name, because I don't want to get a name on, like you said earlier, but there was a journalist at the Telegraph who wrote about, I think Katie, she wrote about her horrible experience, her great experience of being a journalist, but some of the horrible experience she's had in press rooms.
Is
And
this
a
is
lot,
this the one that was the rugby based one? Because I think I read it as well.
yes, yeah, and they're not all of them. There are a few comments going, well, you signed up for the job and that kind of thing, but that's not the job you sign up for. I mean, she
it's the
was
most
saying,
flawed argument I've ever heard. You signed up for the job. I was like, I don't remember reading the contract and reading like sexual harassment.
yeah, it's like, I mean, and there's one thing I had in common with her at Twickenham. I mean, I think she was saying when she first went through, even though she had a press pass on, someone gave her like something to go somewhere else. I think it was like,
a chef's apron or something. Yeah, apron.
Well, the first time I went to King's Own, to Twickenham, someone gave me my accreditation. I was there with the press, with the company, or with freelance and stuff. He handed me a bar thing and went, "Oh, the bar's over there. They open in an hour." I'm thinking, I'm not on press. They kind of smile at you, but for me, if that's the worst thing I've had in person, I'm extremely lucky for that in rugby. I mean, politics is a different story, probably not worth broadcasting some of those encounters, but
if I make the over in 80 minutes politics podcast, we'll go into that one. You'll be guessing.
No, we will not. Over a pint, I'll tell you what, everything I know about everyone.
Finals day at the cricket.
Yeah, everything I've ever known or come across or whatever, sure, but yeah.
I'll tell you my secrets from the world of rugby. There you go. It's a deal. It's a deal.
All those things you got up to on tour, eh?
Oh no, I mean just the things I hear.
Oh, well, you're welcome to DM me anytime.
My anonymous leak. Oh, we wonder who that could be.
I don't leak. Well, I tell you what, though, there's something a lot of people. I'll tell you this. As I said, I'm not the one who does the main transfer stuff at Rugby Inside Line. As I said, I mostly just do the Instagram because it gives me a chance to design stuff just it's not very good design, but it's eye catching, and that is good design.
That is good design. If it's eye catching, it's good design.
It's a little bit ugly, but other people like it. I sit there and I spend my days when I'm bored in bed, and I'll write a 15. So I'll write I think, let me have a look at my phone. The last 3 I've done, and someone else who I do the Instagram with loves the top 14. So the last 3 or 4 I've done are a top 14, 23 and under. So youngsters in top 14, Pacific Islanders playing in Britain and Ireland, a Southern Hemisphere 15 in Europe, 15 of Springboks that are playing in the British Isles. Those kind of things. I just sit there and when I'm bored, I write a 15. But sorry to go off track, but one thing that people think that someone gives Rugby Inside Line a rumour and we run it. We don't. We take that rumour and go, thanks. And then we'll ask people who we know will probably know to double source. And we only ever publish stuff that 2 people have confirmed. And then one of us will just double check that those people aren't really closely connected. And that's the only way we do stuff, because it's very we get some brilliant ones. The other day I had Karevi to Gloucester.
From Irish?
No, Karevi, the
sorry,
from Panasonic World Nights.
Yeah.
So you get ones like that. You get the occasional Atoje to Bristol. You get some of the ones that will never happen, but you'd love them to happen because they'd be great for the Premiership, but you just think that's never going to happen.
Yeah, just for the social interaction, you want them to happen.
Yeah, and then you get ones like, you get some really interesting ones going, oh, I work for an estate agent and XYZ's just bought a house.
Yeah.
And you go, oh. So then you talk to some, this kind of thing. And I think that's an important thing to state, because I think some people just think we grab hold of anything and post it. I mean, if I remember rightly, we were the first to get the Bristol Bears rebrand. And we got way to NFL. I think the last big one we got was Johnny May back to Gloucester. We got that one, I think, last year. But we get loads of little ones. But the one that caused the biggest stir and caused the club back thing was we heard through 2 or 3 sources that Sale weren't going to sign him, but they were talking to Wally Thorley. And this is when he was on form, try again type thing. And a week later, or a few days later, there was a fan forum at Gloucester, and they actually said, "Oh, we've read this rumor. We don't know how it could possibly be true, and unless it is true or whatever." And then a day later, he re-signed. So it's kind of those things where you go, "Oh, that's a bit convenient, isn't it?" But But yeah, everything on there is double sourced, and there are people who are much better at it than us. Neil Fizzler, who does the rugby paper. People buy that paper. Yeah, great. There are match reports in it. People buy that paper for the rumours.
Oh yeah, well, it's like we were saying earlier. Like, everybody knows what happened in the game. Nobody wants to read about that.
First thing I do, I don't buy it often anymore. I ask someone else who's bought it to send me the rumours. But the first thing I do when I open that is to go, anyone to my club or any really cool rumours. And it's
the same as it's the same as football when it's transfer season.
Exactly. Everyone is hooked on them, and even the ones that will never happen. You hear Sancho to United now currently. They're 20 million euros apart. It will probably happen because it's Man United, but even if that didn't happen, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's thinking, Grealish, Harry Kane to Man City.
It's like you said though, isn't it? It's like if an agent or somebody can put something like out there, it can cause a re-sign of a contract or it can cause a transfer.
Yeah, there are some people that do that. There you go. Sean there. Mike Ford leaves Leicester Tigers. Kevin Sinfield's in.
Is he?
Bloody hell.
Sam Burgess is buzzing. Sam Burgess is doing backflips.
I think Sam Burgess is doing many other things. There aren't.
Just partying with Jay-Z. Just partying with Jay-Z.
He's always in the news. But yeah, so that it's really interesting. But those rumors keep me going. I love them. I'm like a gossip.
Mate, it's like the same as did you ever play Football Manager?
No, it's one of those holes I never fell into, thank God.
Mate, I will single-handedly put down the reason I only got a 2-2 at uni down to Football Manager. taking Solihull to Champions League glory is my greatest achievement of all time. I got a first at uni by, I think, 2 marks. Pretty sure I got a 2-2 by 2 marks, so we'll keep it very quiet. I turned up and I was like, it's marine biology. Where the fuck are the dolphins? Why are you teaching me about plants?
That's clever, though. Clever degree, that, though. A 2-2 in marine biology is probably worth a first in journalism.
You didn't see my degree. my dissertation project was how do we clean water using nothing but plants. That was literally my dissertation topic. It was really interesting if I'd bothered my arse to then take it the next step further, finishing my dissertation. But
you've read mine. You've read my project.
You don't want to read mine. I don't even have a copy of mine anymore. By the time I finished uni, I was like, I want nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Right, mate. Last thing before we get to the end of the podcast and we get on to a little bit of quick fire. Top 3 sports to go watch as a fan. 3 sports where you think, well, regardless of what I'm doing, I'm putting it on. But you're not allowed to say rugby and cricket because we've just said rugby and cricket.
I think the right football game. 100%.
Sunday league football.
just
any Sunday league football.
Yeah, the right kind of game. I think athletics is massively underrated as a sport in general.
Mate, Olympics is case in point for that. Like, think about how many people watch the Olympics and then don't watch the Diamond League or something like that.
It's amazing when we get this Commonwealth Games stadium up in Birmingham. I think it's going to be a very exciting time. I think athletics will stop completely going to London Stadium. I think that will become the hub. Third one. I don't know. I'd probably say rugby league. I've enjoyed some really good days out at the rugby league. I probably can't say that as a Union fan, but I will happily go and sit and watch loads of sports. I love it all. I went to watch a tennis game at the Albert Hall. I wouldn't normally do that, but I thought, let's do that. That's a bit of a laugh. So I think you've got to find the right kind of game for each sport.
I think there's so much to be said as well for sport that's reasonably priced. Like you say, like every sport is good, and then like you say, if you can go to somewhere at the Albert Hall, I mean, obviously it probably wasn't, but say like on the day and you've got nothing to do, and somebody turns around and goes, "Oh, there's a ticket to this for £7 or £8." You're like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. Why not?"
I did a bit of PR stuff while I was around, and we got tickets. I got tickets and a hotel, 2 hotel rooms to England women, Brazil women at Wembley. And I texted my dad. I wasn't sure whether he'd come, but he was like, "Yeah, I'm down." He came. A few mates came. £5 a ticket. 80,000 people, 77,000 people turned out, and it was a very, very good night out because it was reasonably priced. You got a lot of people, and I think the day after I went to go and watch the Para World Championship swimming at the London Aquatic Centre for £3. It's amazing it's amazing what's there if you look. You know, they sometimes do hockey at the Stoop.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things are a tenner a ticket. You know, go to these amazing events. Women's rugby is a great one. I did a lot of it during the pandemic, especially down at Bristol with Tom's club, Tom Lindsay, and you know, even that we went to the final, me and my dad, and we thought, oh, we'll go to the final. It was in Gloucester, you know, 15 quid a ticket or whatever it was. You know, if things are priced right, I think there's a market for anything, especially in Britain. We are a bit sports loony, aren't we?
Oh, it's exactly like that. If you were focused on trying to get something and you go, we can't sell at the ground. If you just turned around and went, take a tenner off every ticket, like you'd sell the ground.
And then they come in and they drink 3 or 4 pints and you make your money back.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they think, oh, well, I've saved a tenner in what I normally pay. I'll get 2 extra pints or something.
I'll tell you what, though, yesterday, the weekend at the cricket, a pint was £6.50.
That's disgusting.
And at Carlin was £5.70.
In Birmingham, they must have been up for
Yeah, we started drinking Prava at £6.50 a pint, and then we went on to Carlin. It was 23 quid a round for 4 beers, and I thought, oh, it's like being back at uni.
Oh no!
Yeah,
mate, I could have a night out on 23 quid.
So could I here. Well, I think I could hear as well. There's a cracking looking bar outside.
Mate, in that case, that's a good point to get us onto the quickfire questions, and then the biggest indication of, can you please let me get off your podcast so I can go to the pub?
Oh, you think I'd go on my own?
Mate, I'd go to a pub by myself. You never been to a pub by yourself?
No, I haven't. No.
If you're ever in Edinburgh, right, best pubs to go to if you're by yourself, because you won't be by yourself very long. McSorley's down by Haymarket train station. Yeah. Sorry, not even McSorley's. No, it's Malone's. Malone's moved and the new pub got called McSorley's. Go to Malone's by Haymarket train station. The Golf Tavern up in Runsfield is phenomenal. That was my local for a year. And then one more that I'd probably recommend if you're trying to get really drunk and have a great time, where would you go for a good pint? Just head to one of the Spoons on the George Street.
It's always a classic, that, isn't it? You can always be finding Spoons.
Mate, we once had quick story, really off topic, but we once had a mate who worked in one of the Spoons on George Street, which is like the high street of Edinburgh. And it was they just released these books that was like coupons, and it was like, oh, they're not supposed to activate till midnight tonight. And he handed us all them at 8 o'clock when we walked in.
Yeah,
I think we had gone through 2 of the 4 booklets that we'd been given by the time it had hit midnight.
When we got that, it's usually around freshest time they do that. We made it a mission to get through a book in a week. You know,
Nice.
Drinks wise, not food wise. So, you know, we walk in there and asking for prosecco, and everyone's going, "What? It's 3 o'clock." And we're like, "Yeah, but I've got to finish the book."
Yeah, yeah, mate. But it's only £2 if I use this. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What you celebrating? Thursday? Just Thursday?
Yeah, waking up before my lecture.
Yeah, exactly. Right, mate. We're gonna go for the quick, cheeky, nice, easy little quick fires to end, just so people get a bit more about you. Right, mate. I'm gonna go. I've got a section of quickfire. I've got a selection of quickfires mixed up from different guests, so I'm just gonna rinse my way through them all. Right, start off strong. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Strong. Pints or cocktails?
Pints.
Rogue. I'll admit I'm a cocktails kind of guy. Night out or a night in?
I'd say I will drink anything. Night out, but a bar, not a club.
Strong. Movie or TV series?
TV series.
Right, back to your old playing days now. Would you rather score a try or make a try, save and tackle?
Score a try. I think Dad would be prouder of me.
Oh, if you made a try, save and tackle?
No, scored. No, I think if I scored, he'd be prouder of me. He used to play centre. He used to score all the time. I wasn't very good. I think I played twice at school, and that's my career. That's my rugby playing career.
That's all you need. It's 2 games.
Games. I was hooker and then second row, and I'm 5'8".
Mate, I'm 5'9" and ultra boost. Don't worry about it. So, what you need, like, you just need 2 games. Get the stash, chuck it on, never take it off, and then everybody just believes you're a rugby player. That's all you do.
Yeah, I should have done that, shouldn't I?
Right, this one's made for other people, but rugby or dogs? If you had to choose between rugby or dogs to go tomorrow, which one would you get rid of?
If I had to get rid of one, I'd get rid of dogs. I know. You're a
psychopath.
No, it's the responsibility. I've always wanted a dog, but I've lived in London since I've turned it into an adult. Yeah. I've always wanted one in my flat, but I know I couldn't give it the responsibility all the time it needed. So I'd rather not have one. I'd rather live happy with Doris down the road than with me and see the light of day 2 hours. So there's reasoning behind it.
Yeah. Right. Haggis or black pudding?
I've never had haggis. Hate black pudding, so I say haggis.
London or Gloucester as a place to live?
London.
Ooh. Do you know, interesting fact, I reckon everybody I've asked has chosen the place they live now rather than where they grew up.
London. Well, I grew up in Gloucester.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean. Everybody else is choosing the new place.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock?
The Rock, because he's so versatile. He does a bit of everything.
Strong choice. And lastly, how would you like a steak to be cooked?
Rare.
Correct answer. It's not, but it is the correct answer.
It's the correct answer. It's the only answer.
Right, and then end the question, the one that's been an absolute fan favourite since I've told everybody about it, and it's the one the guests always look forward to when I tell them. You've just done your second game for your school team, gone against the biggest rivals, 50 points, you've scored 8 tries from second row, been dominating the scrum, been a man mountain in the line out, you've just been handed the phone in the aux cord. Your coach tells your 16-year-old self you've got 3 cheesy pop songs to get the team ready for a night out at the underage of disco. What 3 songs are you picking and why?
Right, first one, you've got to overdo the cheese so that they think you're rubbish, then it gets better. So,
you've got an order as well. I like this.
Yeah, order. So Call Me Maybe, Carly Rae Jepsen.
Brilliant, phenomenal.
That gets everyone going. It's stupidly cheesy. And then it would be Come On Eileen.
This is so white. This is so...
But then the reason I do it is because it's everyone, no matter where they're from, knows these songs.
Yeah.
And then I'd finish strong. Pulp, Common People.
Brilliant.
I think that's a strong finish.
Do you know what? These have progressively got better with every guest. Callum Circus was so niche to Wasps. It was like they're all great songs, but they very much have their own place in the Wasps team bus.
I can imagine.
George Taylor just picked 3 for him. He was like, "Fuck the rest of the team. I'm just going with it."
I think Common People is just one of those ones that it gets everyone bouncing.
Mate, that or ABBA. ABBA just seems to, no matter where you are, ABBA, people love ABBA.
Yeah. Shout.
Mate, that was like, I thought Tom Lindsay's was good. That one has topped it. So in the unofficial ranking, you're definitely top so far.
Well, that makes it. I'm so hot at the moment. I look at tomato. I'm on the 15th floor. There's no aircon and the windows don't open.
Well, play those songs and then you'll have an excuse to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, that's us finished. So, people, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Matt for coming on in the Over in 80 Minutes podcast. Matt, where can they find you on social media? Where can they check out all your stuff?
I'm currently Matt Hardy Journo. That's very professional. My Instagram is MTF Hardy. That's my that's my first name and middle names. But yeah, MTF Hardy. That's public, but it's not really journalism. Mm-hmm. So that's if you want to see how much of a buffoon I am.
That's if you want to see a beer snake at Edgbaston and his mate carrying 25.
Yeah. Or my family, or our very horrible Christmas photos.
Mate, they're the best kind of one. My Instagram's awful. That's why I made a separate one for this.
Mine's rubbish. So bad.
Right, that's everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. That one's been a bit more fun. Hopefully, if somebody's here getting to learn a bit about sports journalism, as me and Matt have said, it's a case of asking people, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm sure Matt's the same. But speaking for me, if anybody has any questions, hit me up on the social channels. I'll try and answer 100%. As best I can. Like and subscribe if it's on YouTube. If you're watching this on Apple Podcasts or somewhere like that, make sure you give it a 5-star rating. Always try to get it. Like, share it, tell your mates. If you're going to leave something mean in the comments, at least make it funny. Then I can retweet it and get some likes that way.
100%.
Yeah, stay safe. Matt, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Everybody have a nice day. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.